Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, host of Vancouver Island Time and a co-host of
He Said, She Said, They Said, a real conversation, a real discussion on real estate in Victoria, BC. Hey everybody, it's Andrew Plank with LePage, and it's great to be back for another week.
How are you doing?
I am doing good, yeah. Week starting off busy, getting lots of phone calls already this morning and juggling those, and it's offer day today, of course, and tomorrow and Wednesday for me. For those who don't know, agents, most people who are buyers do know this, but agents are tending to hold offers off for certain days, number of days, and it's usually a Monday, Tuesday, sometimes a Wednesday that they're going to look at offers. And sometimes a Sunday, but we agents get in big trouble from our colleagues if we do that. So try to take a day off if they can, which they can't.
Yeah. So we got one accepted offer on the weekend, and we got one accepted with conditions on a Thursday. I'm anchoring it. Woo!
Nicely done. So Sunday or this weekend, you said, and on Thursday. So these properties were not holding offers off; they were taking them as they come. Were these long on market off properties? Tell me the story here.
One was taking offers as they came in and wanted it open 24 hours. And it was funny because my clients were so nervous.
Mm-hmm.
They're such nice people. So we left it open 24 hours, but it took them about 6 hours to sign it because they were very nervous.
And they were nervous somebody else was going to come in to compete with them, or they were just nervous about writing in general? They
were nervous about writing in general. Gotcha. It's just, first-time buyers.
Yeah. I can tell you, well, that whole strategy of, holding off offers versus, there's the counter strategy of let's just look at offers and leave them open. We request the buyers leave them open 24 or 48 hours, but that's nerve-wracking for a buyer as well because they're waiting to know if there's any competition in that 24-hour period.
Yeah, but there was a reason for the 24 hours. It's just because somebody was one of the sellers lived far away. Mm-hmm. And then the other one, actually, we were supposed to write an offer on Tuesday and on another property, and they got a bully offer. So we actually didn't get notification that the offer came in. So anyway, I was like, oh my God. So then I was telling another client the story, and she's like, okay, well, let's just write an offer on another property, a different buyer, different property. And so we wrote an offer, and it was earlier than they had requested, but she wrote a good offer. And so we gave the agent time to collect other offers if they wanted.
So this was a bully offer, this other one that you did.
Yeah, and I generally am one of those people who will follow the rules, but it did not do my client any good.
There aren't any rules, Jane, just guidelines.
Guidelines, true. I will follow the guidelines. So
there are rules, and we are rule followers, Jane and I, generally speaking. But when it comes to negotiations, it's guidelines.
Right. Yeah. Instructions.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, if you do, you and I have both seen this where you do, the agent, the seller has said, we're going to wait till Tuesday to look at offers. And then you get the call Sunday that there's an offer in hand, and they're going to look at offers in the next hour. It's pretty hard to scramble and pull your client together and your clients, off up island somewhere. It's frustrating. So make it, at least have the offer ready well in advance. And why not throw the bully out there if you really truly feel like you're going to be the one that wins.
Yep. Actually, that just made me realize this weekend is a long weekend, is it not? On Monday.
Is Valentine's Day a long weekend?
Is it Family Day this weekend?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, so when you're listing, you have to be aware of these things, of when long weekends are happening, because you're going to attract or detract people based on how many people are around. Or people might be coming for the weekend, whatever.
Yeah, I find generally speaking, like if I'm doing an open house on a long weekend, it's pretty slow. If we're looking at offers after a long weekend, it's been a sort of a slower weekend for showings. Maybe you get some folks from out of town coming in, but a lot more looky-loos than maybe serious buyers as well.
Yeah.
So, long weekends are not a great time to start out your marketing of a listing, is what I find in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last week we were talking about interest rates and the fact that they stayed the same. And it's funny, I heard from another client over the weekend. She heard from somebody that the market was going to drop 10%. I'm like, I'm not seeing it happening. So why don't we go over the stats today? Is that a good segue?
That's a great segue. So yeah, why would we not see 10% drop in prices as a realistic expectation based on what we're seeing? Let's have a look at this and see.
Okay, so we're going to do the Victoria real estate market update for February 7th, 2022. And here we go. Go ahead, take the first.
Oh, I get the first one. Thank you so much, Jane. Okay, exciting. Okay, so market watch. So what happened in the last week? We had 216 new listings in the last 7 days come live. We've had 166 properties go pending. So that's 216 versus 166. 11 properties decreased in price, where 9 properties increased in price. 3 came back on market after having been withdrawn or taken off market temporarily. 156 sold, 16 expired. And of those withdrawals, there were 2. So any comments on that, Jane, that you want to comment on?
So I do the stats PowerPoint every month, and it was interesting to me to just see, it looks like similar ratios. It's just that the numbers have basically doubled since last month.
Yeah, so we start to see the people who are thinking about listing a home, they tend to not want to list a home on January 3rd. So we're starting to see more and more listings coming live here in February, and we're going to see more and more in March as we start to peak up into the season where it's warmer, drier, longer days, and just generally better for showcasing a home. But yes, the ratio, well, there is an interesting ratio here. I mean, I'd say 216 new listings versus 166 properties going pending. We've seen those ratios in the past pretty close together, where those numbers were both pretty even as they went up and down. So it's interesting to see more listings coming than going pending this week. And that's indicating, again, that we're going to start seeing some more inventory and maybe a bit of an increase in our active listings, which that'll segue into the next set of figures there, and the fact that we're still really low on active listings. Do you want to take those, Jane?
Sure. So February 2022 to date, so it is February 7th, 130 net unconditional sales. Now, this may differ from the other one because the other one also probably would include January. Mm-hmm. 863 for the month of February last year. And so it looks like we're going to be on par, I think. New listings, 220 so far this year, and compared to 1,015 in February of 2021. And active listings is so freaking low at 794. And this is why there's a rush, because there were 1,318 last year, which is also fairly low.
Yeah, I mean, you think about this, it's actually just this analogy just came to me. We'll see how it plays out. But, when there's only a limited number of this is like locusts descending on a field. There's only so many fields, and there's a lot of buyers. And so as each property comes up, there's quite a flock just jumping on each one. And you can't control that menace. The pest, it's not a pest. You buyers are not pests. Jane's shaking her head. The point is that when you have limited inventory, you're going to find that everyone's going to flock from one shiny object to the next. Every new listing is a very, very attractive new opportunity. When we have more inventory, then that energy gets divided, the multiple offers. When there's 5 properties that you're interested in looking at offers on a Monday, as opposed to 1, you're going to have to make a choice between those 5. And yes, go ahead.
So I was going to say, so in a regular, I'm putting air quotes up, market, what would happen is a buyer would request to view 10 properties, and maybe we would see 8 and 2 would have offers. Now what's happening is we're literally doing one-offs. So it's very ineffective as a buyer agent to work with buyers right now, because we're literally rushing to each listing as it comes on the market. We're trying to let our clients know when things are coming on ahead of time. So we're always communicating with other agents. And so that creates a sense of urgency with the buyer. The buyer's optimistic about where the market's going because there's so many other people looking. And then you get the multiple offers.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, it's frustrating right now working with buyers. That doesn't mean we're not working with buyers, and we're doing our best to think outside the box. We're doing our best to look at, how can we strategize to work to our clients' benefits, to make sure that, we're one of these, like 130 net unconditional sales in the last week. That we're part of that, the agents that are participating in that. So, but it's true. It's just so such a small inventory that everything is one-ofs, as Jane alluded to.
Okay, so this gives you a good overview over the past 2 years of total active listings. So in January 2020, we were up around 1,900, just under 2,000. Last year, we were around the 1,350 range, and this year we're half of that. So it's like come down 50% every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you can expect the market to peak. Usually it peaks around April or May. So I think that will happen again this year. And we are, I think, experiencing a bit of a rebound.
Yeah. And when we say peak, we say, that's the total number of active listings peaking, and sort of the activity is peaking. But buyer activity and seller activity don't always follow the same pattern. But generally, spring is the time when everybody is getting everything together.
So it's interesting you say that, because the seller activity of last year was in April, but the buyer activity was actually in March. So if you want to list, now's the time.
Yeah. So what Jane is saying is that the sellers are sort of saying, well, let's wait till our home looks best and it's pretty and everything, but everybody is waiting for that time. And so they're going to be lost in the crowd. Whereas the buyers are already out there active and chomping at the bit to get into a home. So you're actually better off listing sooner to try to beat that bump.
Yeah, and so the total MLS listings is the dark bar, and then the line are the sales. So you can see the sales fall below the number of listings, but recently in the past, I'd say 6 months, we're at a 1-to-1 ratio almost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm seeing a leveling off when I'm looking at this data at just under 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing. We've kind of reached equilibrium. We've kind of reached equilibrium, but we're a really white hot sellers market. And yet it's at equilibrium, and it can't really go much higher. I mean, you can't sell much more than 100% of the listings that come up. I mean, you can if you have 10,000 listings already in the inventory, and you just gradually diminish that inventory till you get down to 0. But in this case, we don't have much already to begin with, so we're really high up there. And until we start seeing more listings coming on, and this is the thing where people are asking us about our crystal balls. And Jane, I'm seeing more housing starts, especially in the West Shore. There's a lot of condos that are getting built or in the process of being built. We're seeing the government talking about some cooling measures that they're going to bring in. We're seeing the Bank of Canada talking about raising interest rates. But the $1 million question is does this still cause the market to go significantly does it dampen the market significantly, and when?
So when I'm in a market like this and I'm working with buyers, I will talk often about resale value. So for instance, I viewed a condo yesterday and I was like, you know what? This is the third time I viewed this condo. So that says something to me about the condo itself. It was renovated and it showed well, but it was right by the entrance to the building. It was below grade for the master bedroom. So like the window was up shoulder height. And I just said, I think there's a reason why this condo keeps selling and I would not recommend buying it to my client.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and it's something that we always do is we look at sales history on a unit when it comes up for sale, because it can be pretty telling that in a more regular market, that unit has come up for sale and not sold, and come up for sale and not sold, and come up for sale and not sold. And they've maybe been trying to sell it for 3 or 4 or 5 years in the past. Maybe that was back in 2010, maybe that was in the year 2000, but you can see that they were having trouble. The seller may have had unrealistic expectations on price, but generally speaking, if you're realistic on price, and you're having trouble reselling, it's because there's a theme there.
Yeah, and it's not that in this case that condo didn't sell before. It's just that I think there's a reason why it just is selling over and over. So if you have a place that may be hard to sell, now's the time to sell it. Because there's nothing else to sell.
That's true. But then as a buyer, there's a conversation when we are working with our buyer's agents to say, like, this is easy to buy. This is easy to sell right now for the seller. It's easier for you to buy right now because there's less competition for it. But that corner property that needs that property on a busy road that needs a lot of updates and is 2 beds and 1 bath, maybe a hard resell when the market turns. And it will turn eventually. We're not saying it won't. We're not seeing it yet.
Okay, so looking at prices of single-family homes over the past 2 years, we definitely evened out last year around 1.2 million after we jumped up from December 2020. And now we're up around, well, you'll see the stats later, but we're up around 23% over year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at 1.4 this year.
For an average single-family home in all areas of Victoria.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are homes for sale, nice homes in Souk, for example, for 800, and then downtown Victoria, maybe for 1.6.
Yeah, Oak Bay for 1.7, 1.9, 2.1. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So condos, also, going back to January 2020, the drop due to COVID in March, April 2020, rebound. Condos didn't really follow the same kind of pattern, partly due to COVID, but you can see that in August 2021, they started to jump, and we've been on a rise ever since. They're really catching up to the comparative level to houses and townhouses.
And there is a ratio there, and it was behind, and you and I talked about that, remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Row townhouses have done well compared to condos, I think mainly because there's this outdoor space usually that people can enjoy and they don't have to share air as much.
Mm-hmm.
They rebounded quickly after COVID. A lot of people moving into them out of houses to save money, or moving from condos up to townhomes in order to have space.
But a perfect storm, I'd say, for townhouses, because with house prices rising so rapidly and the inventory being so low, people who would traditionally not consider a townhouse looked at it as a really viable alternative. And also the folks living in condos wanting to get out of condos also looked at townhouses.
Yeah. So over the past 2 years, we're seeing an increase of 300,000. In all areas, we're seeing an increase of about 25% year over year. And now we're at 875, and that's compared to 650 in January of 2021.
Yeah. Now, one thing to point out here is this graph tends to be a lot less linear than the condo graph, for example. With so many condos on the market, there's many more condos out there than townhouses. So averages tend to be easier to average out. Whereas townhouses, they run in a pretty wide gamut of price points. And you could have 1 month where a very, very expensive townhouse or a few expensive townhouses sell, or less townhouses than condos sell. So that's where you kind of want to, you definitely want to smooth this graph if you want to think about it. And the bump in October, really 2021 is probably representing some new townhouses that sold that were a little higher the price than others or something like that.
That would be a good thing to have with us, the N number, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so this is a complicated graph, but essentially what you need to know, year over year in the blue on the right, we're up, we're down, 33% in the units sold of single family homes over Greater Victoria. Condos are down in units sold 22.1%. Row townhouses are down 14%. There's just less inventory, and even manufactured homes are down 22.2%. And then price-wise, we're going to actually go to this data in another graph. So right here, yay!
Thank you.
So why don't you? We'll alternate. How's that?
Okay, so for the housing type and area of single-family dwellings in Victoria, the current benchmark price, this is the home price index, current benchmark price is 1,085,800. That's 1.8% jump compared to last month. It's a 28.1% jump compared to the same month last year. So we're up almost 30% for single families in Victoria. Jane, for the core, how about that?
So apologies for inconsistency in the dollar sign. So the current benchmark price is 1.161500. That's up 1.4% over last month. So these are good numbers, I think. Means this is where you're seeing it level out. But we are up 24.6% over last year.
Mm-hmm. Now on the West Shore, your money's going to go a little bit further. I found it traditionally goes almost 20% further. In this case, it's actually the gap has gotten smaller. The benchmark is showing us 962,400 for a single family home in the West Shore. That's an amazing amount of money for a house in the West Shore, traditionally speaking, especially given that that's more of a feeder community and maybe more, it has traditionally been more blue collar, although that's changing as well. 1.2% increase in price compared to last month, 32.5% jump. It's a huge jump, the biggest jump on the board compared to the same month last year.
And I think that has a lot to do with higher end homes in the Olympic View area of Colwood,
yeah,
and Royal Bay,
and Bear Mountain.
And Bear Mountain.
Yeah. So there's a couple of centers there that have some higher price point homes, some newer homes that are coming into construction, and so the average, if on average more new homes are selling, you're going to see just higher price point just because of that as well.
Yeah, I just want to say this is, of course, the benchmark price. It's a home price index, so it doesn't relate actual sales. It's a trend. So condos in Greater Victoria, this is all over. Current benchmark price is 578. That's up 2.6% and up 20% over last year.
So I just want to look at that really quickly and say, like, okay, so we're seeing a much higher jump compared to last month for condos versus houses, and yet over the year the percentage is lower than houses. So kind of tells us maybe condos are accelerating in price point.
I think so. Yeah. I'm definitely noticing it, and I'm going back to my graph now and fixing all the mistakes I see. But I notice it compared to like December 2019, looking at probably 20 condos with a client, agents calling up, are you going to offer? Are you going to offer? And now we had a lineup of people at a condo yesterday. Okay, it's West Shore, definitely more bang for your buck there. The benchmark price is 438,800. That's up 0.5% compared to last month, and up 19.1% over last year. So really depends on where you're going to live, I guess.
Right. So condos in Greater Victoria, 2.6% rise. In downtown Victoria, 2.9% rise over last month. But in the West Shore, only 0.5% rise. And that's, again, there's a lot of new condos coming on market. And they're very competitive, I'm finding, the price points for those. Townhomes in the core, the current benchmark price, 835,700. That's up 9% versus last month. It's up 23.4% versus same month last year.
So it's up 0.9%, so less than 1%.
Yes. Did I say 9%? My apologies.
Yeah. And then townhomes again. So townhomes are pretty popular on the West Shore. Benchmark price, 636,900. There's more space there and the density is less, although it is increasing. They're up 2.2% from last month and up almost 30% from last year. Yeah.
And when you look at the values, when you compare Townhouse West Shore versus Townhouse Core, 636 versus 835.7. Condo West Shore versus Condo Greater Victoria, 438.8 versus 578. But yet, single family West Shore, 962.4 versus single family Core, 11615. The percentage, I think, is definitely a wider gap when you look at townhouses and condos versus the single family homes. You definitely see the gap has become smaller for the houses in the West Shore.
So often when I'm working with clients who are looking to move to Victoria, I talk to them about the price continuum. So when we're looking in the core and they have a certain amount of money, if they have like 800,000, well, they may get a crappy house in Victoria now, which is ironic because I think when we started, the average house price was $299. And then, but as they move out, they're going to get more bang for their buck. So sometimes people have to find the community that works for them. It's not the one they initially want.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get your price, you're going to get your location, you're going to get a nice condition home. But if you have limited amount of money, you're going to have to pick two of those things. Right. I mean, if you have unlimited funds, you can probably get everything that you're looking for on your checklist, but it's pretty rare.
Okay, so we have two more graphs to go through. So this, what you need to know about this is it just shows, Andrew puts on his glasses. It shows the spread. So you can see in the core is on the left, and then as you move further out, it's on the right. And we see where we're looking at activity. I've highlighted on the left here that in Victoria and Vic West, we're seeing a lot of activity in the 1.2 to 1.5 range for houses. And in Saanich East, we're seeing a lot of activity in the just over 1 million to 1.3. So that's Saanich East, Saanich West. And then Colwood Langford is the other hot area of 800 to 1,500. Mm-hmm. So
it's interesting looking at this graph. I mean, if you wanted to get granular, and if anybody wants a copy of this, certainly you can reach out to either Jane or I, and we can get you a copy of it. But in the past, these numbers that showed where the heat map was for where the price points were, you'd have 17, sales and then 15 on the one above or below, and then it would ramp down, and you'd see a pretty clear trend. Here, it's more because the numbers are so much less. There's definitely a trend, but you gotta kind of wheedle it out a bit.
Well, the other thing people need to see is that if you're looking for under 750,000, you better be looking in Langford, Souk, or the Gulf Islands.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a useful thing to do too when you're working with buyers who kind of have a certain expectation on a certain type of home or price point, is to review what's happened in the last 3-6 months to say, like, how many of these these are what's come up. This is what you're kind of looking to buy. This is how much chance you have of finding it, especially given the market continues to go up. Do we need to talk about your expectations? Is this realistic?
Right. Okay. So condos, I didn't do townhomes because I was rushed.
You got all your number signs in the right place, though.
Yes, although I have a thing after Santa Cheese. So Andrew's been saying, we need to revamp this. So I was working on revamping it. Anyway, so looking at the lower end here, up to 400,000, you're going to get for condos, Victoria and Vic West or Saanich West. Everywhere else is going to be above the $400,000 range. And the hot areas are, Andrew.
What?
Esquimalt 550 to 625, Saanich East from 475 to 600, and Langford has the biggest range from 400 to 700,000. That's where a lot of activity is happening, including a lot in the 650 to 675 range. So, and I'm thinking that's like Whirlaway and around there.
Yeah. So again, the new construction stuff and just the fact that there's more selection out there, so people are considering it like they hadn't before. It'd be interesting to see Souk. Souk seems to have really taken off in the last year as well. It's an area that people are considering where they hadn't considered in the past. And again, the price point is enough of a difference that it's starting to draw them out.
Souk is really lovely. I used to
and it's coming together now. It's becoming more cohesive and becoming a nice center in and of itself. So that's something to consider. The thing, I guess it depends if you're working, if you're retired, how much of a commute do you need to do? But, I used to say, you could move to the West Shore and save yourself $200,000. What's your time worth? Would you rather be spending the time in traffic, driving back and forth to West Shore, assuming you're a commute into town to work, versus paying some extra to stay in town? It just helps people to consider, put that into perspective.
That's a great question. And, it's funny, moving here from Toronto, it would take me an hour and a half to get to work and an hour and a half home. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even think that was weird.
Yeah.
So when I moved to Victoria and I was living at Pearson College and it would take me 40 minutes, people are like, that is so far out. And I'm thinking half of that drive was just through countryside.
Yeah, it's a beautiful drive. I had clients, they were younger and in the tech industry, and they were coming from Ontario and they had some money, and this is back before COVID, so you could, have people in the car with you. And I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and they got in my car and I think they were chomping at the bit because I wasn't driving fast enough or aggressive enough as we were driving around looking at homes. And then I was talking about the commute times, and they were saying, oh my God, 25 minutes to Langford, that's no big deal. That's what's this drive you keep talking about? No, this is no big deal. Of course, everybody who has ever moved here, I shouldn't make blanket statements, but many of the people who have moved here that I've worked with who have said this is not much of a commute, this is not much of a big deal. After a while, if they do move into one of those further neighborhoods, they come around and say, no. From a Victoria perspective, I want to be in the core. I don't want to be dealing with this commute.
So I just want to say Andrew lives in the core now. He used to live in the West Shore. So there's perspective.
I did live in the West Shore. I lived in the West Shore for 15 years, and it's a great area to live. But I am, for my business and for myself, very happy to be more central. And I'm happy to have been able to pay the difference. And when you do think about that difference, not everybody can bridge that gap, but if you have the money and you're just trying to save some money by buying in the West Shore, you do have to think about the lifestyle.
Yeah. So I'm just putting my glasses on to give people to emphasize perspective and what is the focus here, because I live in the West Shore, and I have space around me, and I have a view, and I'm near a park, and I'm like walking distance to the ocean. And growing up in downtown Toronto, we had a ravine in our backyard. That's nice. And that was basically it. So I find for me, it's really grounding. It's so quiet where I live. I do think about, what if we live here? We often talk about living on the gorge, but then we hear ourselves rowing in the morning, and the coach with the thing talking to us like this. And I'm thinking, I think that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jane, because you are a top producer at Remax. You made, I think, #1 at Remax last year. Yay, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, and yet, you live and work. You live in Metchosin, and anytime a client calls you up and says, "I want to see this downtown condo," you got to jump in your car and drive quite a ways to come and show that condo. And obviously, it's not harming your business to be living in the West Shore in Metchosin. I find for myself, most of my business is in the core and the West Shore and on the peninsula. And so for me, being central just gives me the opportunity to come back to my nest. And I like my home as well. I'm happy. I don't have the ocean nearby, but I can see it from my home. We have a park nearby. We don't have a ravine, but we do have a hillside, and we overlook a busier road. So we made some sacrifices to get what we wanted. But from a work perspective, it really works for me, and I find that I'm able to serve my clients better. For myself, but I'm not #1 at Royal LePage. I made the top 3% apparently for area salespeople at Royal LePage.
Yay!
So that's good. And and you and I have had a different philosophy as well in our approaches. That I'm not. I don't know that I'd want to be as busy as you are. It's great to be that busy, but at the same time, and you somehow, I don't know how, I'm gonna buy you lunch again. I don't know how you find the balance. Like, if I was as busy as you, I'd be itching to look at my phone right now and wondering what's happening and so forth. So
I do. If people follow me on social media, they'll see I posted a picture. We had a vision of living in a house on a hill in the trees overlooking the ocean. And that's where we live. And so when I come here, I spend a lot of time. This is like Grand Central here. This is where it all happens. And, I like my fire. I have my Canadian blanket from Hudson's Bay. I have my stuff that just, I surround myself with things that have meaning.
Yes.
So it's all about balance. And also, I think if you do what you like, then it's not hard work.
That's true. That is true. I like real estate a lot.
By the way, you made me blush, but thank you.
Good. Oh, good. And that's a nice haircut too, by the way. Did you get your hair cut?
I did. Thank you. Yes. So much better.
Yeah. We were talking before the show that Jane got her haircut and that one of her clients didn't notice, and it's a new style for her, and it looks great, and but people don't notice when we do these things. Did you get new glasses, Andrew?
Yeah, I did notice you had new glasses. They look good.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so if you guys want any particular topics covered, please send a message to Andrew or myself. And Andrew, how do people reach you?
They can reach me by calling Jane Johnston at the Briar Hill Group. Sorry, I'm just kidding. You can reach me at, I was just saying, I don't. Okay. You can reach me at 250-360-6106 or email me info@andrewplank.com. At andrewplank.com, the website /bio, you'll get more information about myself and a nice little video that talks about my approach. And I'd be happy to hear from you.
And by the way, my clients talk about you too now, because I put your video in my newsletter.
There you go. Oh, wow. Hilarious.
Okay. And if you want to reach me, my name is Jane Johnston, #1 realtor at Remax Camosa in 2021. Yay! My number is 250-744-0775. You can reach me at briarhillgroup@gmail.com. And we have two websites. One's briarhillgroup.com, and the other one is vancouverislandtime.com, where all these lovely videos are placed. Please scroll through the neighborhoods there, as well as look at what we're doing. And I just want to say we are doing a video on Thursday called a cross-country market checkup. So we're going to be reviewing all the data across the country with realtors from all over Canada.
Interesting. Good time.
Yeah, so that'll be at 2:30 on Thursday. So check into Vancouver Island time at that time.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. It was great seeing you as usual.
It was great doing the Canadian edition, eh?
Oh, yeah. Way to go. Go Canada at the Olympics.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jane.